Hello everyone, this is Arunkumar P. Panaga from Government First Grade College Shapur, affiliated to Gulbarga University, Kalburgi. Today we are going for the session 3 on the subject the environmental science. In this environmental science, the session 3 is related to the topic the ecosystem. So in this session 3, so we are able to understand what is the meaning of the ecosystem. Okay, now we will discuss what we mean by the ecosystem. In this unit 2, so we are able to discuss the meaning of ecosystem. That ecosystem we can able to understand what we mean by the different living things and non-living things. So all the detailed discussion has been studied in this second unit of environmental science. It is what we mean by an ecosystem. So before going to that ecosystem, first we will learn what are the objectives of the today's class, that is session 3. So here, in order to understand the meaning of ecosystem, we have to know what we mean by the ecosystem, and not only the meaning of ecosystem, we can also able to understand the food chain among the systems of different living organisms. How the food chain is given for different the living organisms. And third, the learning objectives for the today's session will be the climate change which is taking place around us. How the climate change is taking place. What are the reasons for the climate change? So all the 3 points we have to discuss one by one in this today's the third session. So what are the session outcomes here? So after after completion of this session 3, so one can understand what are the outcomes of these this session 3 class. So one can able to explain what exactly the ecosystem is, and one can able to understand the concept of the conservation of ecosystem. Okay, so these points you have to keep in your mind. After the completion of the this session 3, you can able to explain what exactly the ecosystem is, and second point is that so you have to understand the concept of the conservation of ecosystem. Now let us begin with the introduction of this ecosystem. What exactly the meaning of ecosystem is? What is exactly the ecosystem? If you see, the eco is nothing but it is an environment, okay, and system is nothing but it is an interacting. So within the environment, how the living and non-living things they can interact with each other, so that it will become as an ecosystem. So therefore, ecosystem, how do you define the ecosystem? Ecosystem is nothing but it's a community of living things and non-living things. It's a group of, it's a community. Community means so where the different species are present in the environment, where the different species are living together with respect to the living things and with respect to the non-living things which can survive on a one platform that we are calling as a community. So it's a community of living things that interact with each other, okay, and living and non-living environment is called the ecosystem. So in general, the ecosystem is nothing but it is an interaction. It is a community which takes the interaction between the living and non-living things. So that community which takes the interaction between living and non-living, that we will call as an ecosystem. Dear students, just to observe this image here, this complete image we will call as an ecosystem. What does ecosystem consist? It will consist of some animals, it's a rabbit, and some groundwater. That nearby the groundwater, some of the plants are there, and there is a sunlight, there is a sun, and some hills are there, and some trees is also there. So this is what we are calling as a community. So this picture, it will contain some living things and also it will contain some non-living things. Example, the non-living things is nothing but this is a stone which is lying nearby the pond, and living things where the plants we are calling as a living things, and the rabbit is also a living things. So this is we are calling as a community. Within this community, the interaction between the living and non-living things takes place. So that interaction between the living and non-living things that we are calling as an ecosystem. In this, one animals, they will depend upon the other. So that's what it is called as an ecosystem. So now we will observe this the second image here. So where you can able to observe the living things and what are the examples for the non-living things. In the living things, we are having a different the plants, animals, bacteria, fungus, protocyst, and all these we are calling as a living things. And non-living things are nothing but the water, soil, light energy, and some of the wind energy. Sorry, that the interaction between different species can be takes place. This we are calling as a non-living things. Okay. So in case of the ecosystem, the living things such as plants and animals within each ecosystem interact with each other. Okay, the plants and animals with each other ecosystem interact with each other, and the non-living substances of the ecosystem such as soil, rainfall, temperature, moisture, winds, current, and solar radiation. So that we are calling as an ecosystem. It is an interaction between the living and non-living things. Now we will see the different types of the ecosystem. Already we have understood what is the meaning of ecosystem. That is, ecosystem is nothing but a system. It's a community where the interaction between the living and non-living things takes place. That we are calling as an ecosystem. Now we will see what are the different types of ecosystems are possible. The ecosystems can be classified into two categories. The first one, the natural ecosystem, and second one, the artificial ecosystem. Further, the natural ecosystems are further classified into the four categories. They are, first one, forest ecosystem, second one, the grassland ecosystem, third one, aquatic ecosystem, and fourth one, the desert ecosystem. Okay, so these are all comes under the natural ecosystem. Whereas in case of the artificial ecosystem, we have terrestrial ecosystem, microbial ecosystem, and aquatic ecosystem. This aquatic ecosystem is related to the content of water. Terrestrial and microbial we will discuss in the forthcoming slides. So this we are giving this image. It will use the complete the information about what are the different types of ecosystems. Now we will study the first ecosystem as a natural ecosystem that we are calling as a forest ecosystem. So what do you mean by the forest ecosystem? What are the advantages of that forest ecosystem? The advantages of the forest ecosystems is nothing but, so it will provide heavy rainfall. If wherever the forest is there, a heavy dense forest is there. So in that area, we can able to observe the heavy rain. So therefore, the advantage of the forest ecosystem is nothing but it will provide high rainfall. And second point, large number of living organisms, where the forest it will give the shelter for a large number of living organisms that includes plants, fungi, algae in a particular geographical region, and highly different populations. Oh, that is what the advantage of the ecosystem is there. That what we are calling as a forest ecosystem. That forest ecosystem, it will provide heavy rainfall, and what it will do, the forest ecosystem, it will provide shelter for the different living organisms, such as we can able to observe that different animals are there within the forest. Some of the zebra, elephants, and deer, and some of the different birds are also there. All these the different species can take a shelter within the forest ecosystem. So that what it will provide heavy rainfall, and it will give the shelter for the different animals. So it is what we will call the advantage of the forest ecosystem. Next we will move to the grassland ecosystem, where the name itself indicates it's a grassland ecosystem. And what are the advantages of the grassland ecosystem? The advantages of the grassland ecosystems are a marginal rainfall there is no heavy rainfall. It's a, we are getting as a marginal rainfall. Not only it will give the marginal rainfall, it will protect from the soil erosion. Okay, so it will protect from soil from a wind and water erosion. It will protect the erosion causes. It is also the plus point of having a grassland ecosystem. And the third point, provides wildlife habitat. So where you can able to observe in this image, so where a large number of the wildlife animals are habitated, and it can have their food. They are consuming their food. So within this grassland ecosystem, so it will balance the environment. The fourth point, it will be helps to maintain soil fertility. It will improve the fertility of the soil. So because of the different organisms which can have within the grassland ecosystem. So therefore, the grassland ecosystems is also benefit, have a great advantages of marginal rainfall. It will protect the soil from the erosion, like water erosion and wind erosion, provides the habitat for different animals, and helps to maintain the soil fertility. Next, we will move to the aquatic ecosystem. The name itself indicates aquatic ecosystem. Aquatic is something, but it is related to the water, or where the living organisms which are present within the under the water. That we are calling as a aquatic ecosystem. We are holding the name as a aquarium, where the fish can be have a movement within the water. So what are the advantage of the aquatic ecosystem? It recycle nutrients, where that nutrients are the different minerals, and where the content of the nutrients, it can be recycled. There is the first point. Second point, it maintains stream flow of water. So there is a particular, the flow of water is there. It will maintain a systematic flow of water, that we are calling as a stream flow of water. That is also one of the plus point of having an aquatic ecosystem. Not only it will recycle the nutrients and the stream flow of water, it is also recharges the groundwater. It can improve the ground level of the water if we have an aquatic ecosystem. Nowadays, we are facing a lot of problem because of the groundwater is very lower side. So because of the rainfall, and we are not maintaining the aquatic ecosystem. Because of that reason, so nowadays we are facing the problem of the groundwater. But this ecosystem, if we maintain a proper ecosystem, it will provide the recharges of the groundwater. Not only the groundwater, it provides the habitat of wildlife for different animals such as fish, the frogs, the snails, worms, bacteria, and plankton. For all these the animals, it will give the habitat of wildlife. They have their own shelter where they can have the physical behavior. They can have a particular shelter. And finally, it reduces the floods force. That is also one of the advantage of having an aquatic ecosystem. It reduces the floods force, where the water is going with a higher pressure, the flood force that can be reduced by having an aquatic ecosystem. And we have next the desert ecosystem. This desert ecosystem, where we can able to see in our India at Thar, the desert, and that is located nearby the Rajasthan, where we can able to have see the desert ecosystem. Now let's discuss here what are the advantages of this desert ecosystem on the environment. This ecosystem contains very high temperature, as already it's a common understood that the desert, where the rainfall is very less and have a high temperature, we can able to observe in the desert. High sunlight intensity and low water source. There is also the high sunlight is on there, very high temperature sunlight we are getting to the earth's surface, and there is no water source. Very minimum water sources are available in the desert ecosystem. Soil contains low salt concentration. Soil contains low salt concentration. There is no, the content of the salt is very less in this case. Less populated ecosystem. So in this ecosystem, where we are calling as a desert ecosystem, not so much the living organisms such as the animals can have only limited a particular animal such as camels and other animals can take the shelter, and then that's what is called a less populated ecosystem. Some of the multiple choice questions from the session 3, so that you can able to go that after the completion of that session 3 you can able to answer these questions. Ecosystem is a what type of ecosystem? Whether ecosystem it will contain community of living things, community of non-living things, both the answer A and B or none of the above. So the students can able to understand after going all the content, you can able to answer this MCQ. There is a multiple choice question. You can ask yourself the questions and you try to solve these questions. Ecosystem is a whether it is a community of living things, whether it is a community of non-living things, or both A and B, or none of the above. So second MCQ. Third question we can able to have examples for non-living things. What are the examples for non-living things? Example like bacteria, either air or animal or plant. I can say that the air is a non-living thing. Yes, air is a non-living thing. So fourth MCQ, name the ecosystem which maintains stream flow of water. Name the ecosystem which maintains stream flow of water. Grassland ecosystem, aquatic ecosystem, desert ecosystem, forest ecosystem. Among the four options, you have to do any one option. So we can say that the ecosystem which maintains the stream flow of water is a aquatic ecosystem. Last MCQ, the ecosystem contains a high temperature. Where we are able to see high temperature? In the desert, yes. So in desert, we can able to get a high temperature. That's what the ecosystem contains high temperature is a desert ecosystem. And these are some of the references. Okay, so we will go for our next session. Until that, bye bye to all.